Hello, I'm Marcus Ruiz Evans, founder of the Cal-Exit movement with the book California's Next Century. To the nation of 40 million Californians, what is now very clear is this: the Californians working in the federal government are ignored by that federal system of government. Californians' contributions as servants to the federal government are appreciated, but when we cry out for something that we Californians desperately need, those Californians who cry out for us in D.C. are always ignored. Nancy Pelosi is the third most powerful politician in the federal government, and Kamala Harris is now the second. And California has also been a donor state, giving more than it gets for decades on end. And yet, when California needed a bailout from the federal government to get through this coronavirus time and prevent a recession, as our governor, Gavin Newsom, has been desperately lobbying for, we got nothing, and our governor was ignored by the federal government. There was no big payment for Californians, as we were promised by Nancy Pelosi, the Californian. There were no bailouts for states, as we were promised by Nancy Pelosi, the Californian. The Democrats are now pushing for a $2,000 check, but originally they passed and acted content enough with a $600 check that included no help for the states. This deal that was recently passed was the exact same deal offered by Republicans in November, early December, meaning that holding out to force Republicans to expand stimulus as needed resulted in absolutely nothing at all. Democrats passed the deal Republicans gave them November, at the end of Christmas. The top leaders in the federal government were from California, and when it really counted, we got nothing. This is just like how California itself has been treated for decades. California did not receive a bailout during the 90s recession with President Clinton or the 2008-9 recession with President Barack Obama, although we were a donor state for years before each of those separate events. We Californians have asked now through 3 different recessions for a fraction of what we have paid into the federal system without complaint for years on end and on end. While you as a Californian inside of California knows this to be true, those Californians working in the federal government lack the gumption or the self-respect to do anything about this unfair treatment or to even mention it at all. They are America's mouthpiece, not ours, not Californians. They will abandon any California principle, break any promise they've given us Californians, sell out any of our sacred California values if the federal government tells them that's what's best for America. Nancy Pelosi has admitted that the reason that she did not pass stimulus in early December, when people desperately needed it to prevent us going into recession and the rest of America, she didn't do it because she thought it would help Donald Trump win election. Now that Biden was chosen, she thought it was the right time to pass the deal. Nancy Pelosi, although a Californian and working in the federal government on behalf of Californians, chose America over California. And you can expect nothing less from every Californian that works in the federal government. This Christmas, the worst Californians have seen in a generation is conclusive proof that Californians who obtain great power in the federal government can't necessarily and won't necessarily do anything for us when we are actually desperate. By contrast, and in conclusion to you millions of Californians, the Cal-Exit movement today will stick by California principles, by California values, and by California beliefs. And most importantly, we will stick by the people of California. We have opposed the idea that Californians working in the federal government would be good for California at every turn, all the time, and at every possibility. We will not encourage Californians to play the federal government. We refuse to be complicit in the complete failure of a functional Western government to provide for its people the way every other Western nation has during and throughout this global pandemic for coronavirus. We refuse to be complicit in this economic calamity for us here that the rest of America accepts. The people of California have been ignored throughout this whole fiasco. Our California values disregarded. Our California politicians who speak for us, like Ro Khanna, treated with contempt live on national American television. California, we now know beyond doubt that the federal government and the United States system of democracy is broken beyond repair. We Californians deserve better than a dismal choice between a terrible deal offered by America now in a post-Trump era and a no deal that was offered recently to Californians during the previous American president's era. We Californians deserve the right to choose the best deal of all, a future as an independent California nation. It is only through independence that we will ever get to the future we deserve, one without worry or doubt about the next recession and our financial health, one where we don't worry about would there be a bailout during a recession. If California was independent as a nation in the 1990s recession and 2008 recession and now in the year 2020, you know as a Californian, our government would have passed stimulus, and they would have done it in early November, December, because that's what every other functional Western government except for America has done to get through this coronavirus time. Only in America are the people expected to suffer with contentment and smiles. We would never have gone without stimulus checks for our people if it was up to California's government alone to approve them. We don't have a racist, nihilistic other political party to have to deal with that always seems to own half the House and over half the Senate. In California, the overwhelming majority of our domestic California politicians would have approved stimulus in late November. You know that, Californians. You know. Independence, that is the deal that so many of the people California here need to want, and we as Californians have the right to choose it.